is GamesCenter.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome to a live episode of GamesCenter. I am your host, A to the P, Albert Perkins, aside my co-host, Mark Kriska and Dale Crow. And tonight, we actually have a very special guest here alongside us with GamesCenter. Actually, this idea came from Dale. Dale came up with the idea a couple weeks back. He was like, you know what? There's been a lot of information coming on, with David Hayter and everything. Why don't we try to have him on the show? And I said, you know what, Dale, that's not a bad idea. Let's go ahead
and not a bad idea at all.
Yeah, we're absolutely. I was like, man, that's awesome.
You did the reaching out, so that's the main part.
Yeah, definitely. So with that said, I went ahead, I reached out to him, and sure enough, it's actually going to be a thing. So with that said,
real life.
Yeah, is this real life?
Surreal.
Touch me.
It's surreal. It's crazy.
Yeah, and so with that said, here is David Hayter. David, thank you so much for stopping by and tuning into the show.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
There will be no touching. It's that was not part of the agreement, but I'm thrilled to be
informed.
Well, happens to be a lot. That's the
There goes half my questions.
Oh man,
too funny.
Would you reach around?
Yeah.
No, thank you for having me. It's great to be back with you, Albert.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate you coming on. Mm-hmm. And so what have you been up to? What have you been working on? Any special projects or anything recently?
Yeah. Well, I'm always working on stuff. A lot of it is secret until it comes out. But I've been
sure
writing a movie with the Johnny Depp people,
okay.
And I'm developing a movie over at DreamWorks Animation.
Oh, okay.
Which is cool. And putting together a TV show to produce, possibly in Canada, and apart from that, just a bunch of voiceover stuff and driving around town and having the best job in the world. So
nice. Yeah. I was gonna say you're certainly living the dream there for sure.
Yeah.
It's really nice. I mean, it's nice the way life has worked out, and I get to do a bunch of really cool things with a bunch of really cool people. So I'm very, very grateful.
That's awesome. Yeah, but cool. Speaking of driving, I noticed you were in a couple voiced in a couple Ford commercials. How was it? Were those fun? Was it fun doing those again? Bringing back the snake voice?
It was fun. It's funny. I mean, some people have accused me of selling out or whatever, which they have missed the point of my career, which is always
Ford commercials.
The intent to sell out. But I haven't. I really don't do commercials. People have asked me for years, and I'm like, I'd rather that money go to actors who need it, and I don't. But the Ford people called me specifically and asked me to do a couple things with them, these telenovela commercials, because the producers were Snake fans, and they said, will you do this? And I was like, it was just a straight up offer, and I said, okay, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. And then they said, hey, would you do a commercial as Solid Snake, like a full-on Metal Gear thing? And I was like, wow. Well, I would, but I don't think Konami's going to go over. You have to get Konami to clear it.
Right.
Because I've been involved with these fan things, and Konami always comes in and they're like, no, that's not happening. They kill it. Well, apparently, when you're Ford, you just call up Konami and they go, yeah, okay. So they agreed to do it, and nice. 3 days later, they said, okay, come down to such and such studio and do it. And so I went down, and it was me and Paul Eiding, who plays the Colonel.
Right.
Oh, they got him.
Right.
In all the games. He came in, and it was great. I got a script, and it said Snake and Shadow Moses Island, and it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. I was going to say, that'd probably bring back really great memories working with Paul again and everything too, right?
It was great. Yeah. I mean, I see Paul a lot. We're friends outside of the business, and mm-hmm. I see him at conventions and stuff like that, and we always hang out. But to do those two characters again was pretty cool. It was really fun.
That's phenomenal. Fantastic. Cool.
Yes, that's how it happened.
So for those that are watching and don't know, how exactly did you go ahead and get into voice acting? Like, how did that exactly come about?
I started acting when I was nine years old. I did community theater and stuff like that, and then I lived in Japan when I was 16, and they asked me to do some voiceovers for American or for Japanese video games that were going to America.
Okay.
So I started way back then, and then I went to theater school and I studied singing and accents and voice and a lot of voice training. Then I came out to California, and in 1993 I did a guest star on Major Dad where I played a Russian character. I have Russian accent. I speak like this and blah blah blah.
Oh, that's impressive. There you go.
Yeah, thank you. And then so I did that, and then I got hired to do a Russian character on Captain Planet, and that's how it started.
Oh, okay. Was it like one of the villains on there?
No, it was the brother of the Russian planeteer. So one of the planeteers was this girl.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Russian brother when they went back to her village. It was me and Yakov Smirnov played the Russians.
Nice.
And then the casting director on that was Chris Zimmerman, who ended up being the voice director for the Metal Gear English games.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Sweet.
That's how it started.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That answers my question. I was going to ask, how'd you get into the Metal Gear games? But that's pretty
Yeah, that was just an audition, and so it's actually Jennifer Hale, who's my friend, who's like one of the great voice actresses in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Mass Effect.
Mass Effect,
Yeah.
Metal Gear, and every other thing you've ever
Even
heard.
known.
So Jennifer says that she was the one that told Chris to call me in for Metal Gear, so she kind of takes credit for that. But I just went in, I auditioned, and they called and said, "You got the part." And I said, "Fantastic."
History was made.
Oh, look at that.
Nice. That's yeah, there it is.
That's awesome.
Good stuff. So it's been largely publicized and known that you're no longer involved with the Metal Gear franchise, which, by the way, I think is an absolute travesty and tragedy itself. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. But I just wanted to get your thoughts as to why you believe you weren't asked back on to the series and everything with that.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it would really just be speculation. I mean, they were paying me a good amount of money, and they might have gotten tired of doing that, which I understand. Or maybe Kojima just was like, "Oh, I want to transition to movies, so I want a movie star to do the role." I don't know, but nobody ever those. I mean, those are the reasons as far as I could figure it out, but nobody ever told me specifically why it was.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean,
it's horrible though.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
it kind of answers next. Like, I was gonna say, have you had any like contact with any Konami reps or anyone since you last worked with him on Peace Walker?
Nope.
No.
Nothing.
Yeah.
No contact.
No, I mean, I talked to Chris Zimmerman, who continues to direct the English versions of the games. But she didn't have any more reason for me than anybody else, and no, I haven't spoken to Konami since. Sorry.
That's yep.
Not your fault.
It's definitely theirs.
Yeah.
No, I would keep doing it, but again, like I say, they were paying me very well, and I was sort of pushing the boundaries of how how much they would be willing to pay me to continue to do something that was that successful. So maybe I don't know, maybe we reached that limit.
I mean, hey, I'd hire you. I probably couldn't pay as much as they would, but I'd hire you in a heartbeat.
Yeah, right.
I wonder. I know that Kojima and Konami also had a falling out. So I wish they could just say what exactly happened. And sometimes I even wonder if like maybe Kojima tried to like tank it on purpose by not having you on it. Like that. I know every fan I know is outraged at it.
Yeah,
so.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't know really, but and I don't know what the problem was between Kojima and Konami. But it happens. These things when a title is very successful, it takes on its own life. It starts to become very, very expensive to make each game.
Sure.
And so I mean, corporate entities can get kind of hinky, and artists can get kind of artsy, and sometimes that just leads to the dissolution of the whole thing. But I mean, that said, we did it for 12 years and had a pretty good run. So
yeah, I'd say
it's all
definitely.
good.
So yeah, with that said, I feel for you in this situation. I was absolutely heartbroken whenever I found out and everything. And I definitely want to.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but also,
sure.
I want to make it clear to people because I recently said some things about Kojima and my thoughts and so on and so forth, and I wanted to put that information out there. But at the same time, I mean, it was years ago now since I found out that I wasn't doing it. Like I found out a year before you guys did,
Yeah,
and so
okay.
and I'm a fairly busy screenwriter and voice actor in other areas, so I don't want people to think that I go around thinking about it all the time because I don't.
Yeah.
No, absolutely, yeah.
But I appreciate the support, and I would love to continue to do it. But if not, it was a good run, and I feel good about the games we put out.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of whenever you were doing, I guess whenever Metal Gear was back in the day, did you ever get any negative feedbacks on like any lines that you've delivered or anything like that, like from either producers or from like directors or from fans?
Well, I mean, no, internally, not really. I mean, when we do the games, Chris Zimmerman she'd say, try more like this or be more snaky. That was
Yeah.
that was the direction we had. And, we'd sort of alternate. We just sort of feel our way through on it. But no, I never got any feedback from Konami or from Kojima. Like, the English language version of the game, we would sort of do it. It was overseen by Konami producers, but we'd sort of do it, and it was kind of separate from the Japanese version of the game. So I never got a lot of feedback there. I mean, I got some fans along the way who'd say, "Boy, you really sucked in such and such."
I don't know what they're talking about.
Line or whatever. Oh, there's some where it's over the top, or I can't, or there's scenes where I can't see what Snake is doing, and so like
the
intensity of my voice doesn't match what he's doing.
Kind of hard to do like a little impromptu type of.
Yeah, like I'm doing it like he's sitting down and he's in the middle of a gunfight or something. There's things that are difficult to pull off when you can't see what your character is doing if the scene hasn't been rendered yet. So it's not all there. I'm not happy with everything that went into it, but in general, it's all pretty.
That's one nice thing about like the new mocap way of doing things, I would assume. So you know exactly what's going on.
Moment, and it's a little easier to sounds more real.
Yeah.
Did you come up how did you come up with the Snake voice? Did it just kind of happen?
Yeah. I mean, the story was I auditioned with a different voice. Like I probably auditioned with something closer to my real voice, which is this, and then I got the job. But then they sent me the script, and the script was, I mean, I can't even. The camera's not big enough to show.
It was massive.
Just a stack.
Oh Lord.
1,000 some odd papers, and but I started to go through it, and in the very first scene, Campbell has taken me from. They basically sort of picked me up in Alaska and pulled me from my home, and I realized he was already retired, and he'd already left the military, and they were calling him back. So I thought, well, maybe this guy is, he's older than me. He's already been through it. And so, there's got to be a little more experience to it. There's got to be a little more history to the voice. And, like there's got to be this feeling that, he's already been out and pulled back in. And so that's where it came from. And then, and so the voice that I ended up using was completely different from the voice I auditioned with.
That's awesome.
Obviously, that is one of the most recognizable voices of all time. But have you ever used it for like any like personal gain or just
like out in the world?
Every day? Yeah.
I mean, I made some. Well, my favorite story is that I went to see my wife and I and another couple. We got tickets to go see Death of a Salesman at the Amundsen Theater here with Brian Dennehy. Great evening of theater.
Oh, okay.
And two people in front of us who were sort of sitting down one level, and they're just making out like like
Oh my god.
like
see where
he's
this is going.
performing CPR or
Oh,
something.
it's so disrespectful.
Yeah, but I mean, my boy's there. He's getting some. I'm like, okay.
Oh
Well,
yeah, true.
if it takes Death of a Salesman, maybe she's an intellectual or something. I don't know, but it starts to get really annoying, and my wife's getting annoyed, and they're like smacking. I like this.
Oh, okay.
And,
Chewing on the bubble gum.
and right, and so at one point she's like, "Oh my God, can you believe this?" And so I'm getting annoyed, so I lean down into the guy's ear and I said, "Get a room." Like this. And he jumps up like holy shit. And the girl doesn't hear me. She's on the other side.
Oh, okay. Oh, she didn't hear anything.
Like that. And he's like, no. It's, stop.
Snake's
Snake
here.
told me to stop.
Snake's here. I can't do this anymore.
And I scared the royal bejesus out of this guy.
Oh,
And,
awesome.
god, that's
and it was
great.
like right in his ear, full on Snake. And so,
Did
so that would be awesome.
did he say anything afterwards, like that he recognized your voice?
I was
okay.
eating. I was like, so then for the rest of the play, I'm like, okay, he's going to want to get up and fight or something.
Oh,
give
Yeah.
me some sort of hassle. And so I was planning on saying, I had the line all planned out. I was going to say, you didn't come to Death of a Salesman just to make out and get your ass kicked, did you? And but they the curtain went down and he just grabbed his girl
And they just
gone.
bolted. Yeah.
That's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
He was embarrassed, and I was like, I don't want to get into a scrap at the Amundsen Theater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's lucky.
Well, agreed.
Absolutely.
Besides Snake and everyone, what is your favorite character in the Metal Gear Solid franchise?
I love them all. I mean, I love Vulcan Raven. I love Sniper Wolf. Mei Ling. Otacon is my boy.
Yeah.
We're very tight. The Colonel, even though he lies to me on every single mission,
Yeah, really. Yeah.
still love
Doesn't
him.
tell you everything,
Yeah, I love the world. There's a lot of them that really mean a lot to me. Meryl, even though she married the wrong guy.
Yeah, she did.
I didn't like that that ending. I how she ended up with, spoilers for anybody watching, obviously, but I didn't like how she ended up with Johnny at the end of Metal Gear Solid 4. I was like, why isn't she with Snake? Like, what?
I know,
what is
and
this,
I'm going back to my ranch to die of accelerated aging.
Yeah. What the hell?
Johnny Sasaki, the diarrhea kid, and I'm like, this is not the way I would have written this story, but
Yeah, I agree.
whatever. Snake, Snake isn't there for love. He's there to save the world, and that's what he does.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Good at doing one job, killing. That's it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
CQC.
Killer.
Nice.
Is there a character that you wanted to provide the voice work for, but never had the opportunity?
Oh,
Okay.
And this is now. What's his name? The classic Batman, Roger.
Kevin Conroy?
Sorry, called him Roger. Kevin Conroy is Batman, as far as I'm concerned, and he's amazing.
Like your Snake.
But now and again, people ask me if I'll audition for this Batman or that Batman, and it's something I've always wanted to play. So occasionally I try to get those jobs.
Yeah. Do you have a Batman voice?
Well, I wouldn't want to reveal it until it happens.
Oh, okay.
Fair enough.
And it also depends. It's some people want a full on Batman voice, and some people just want him to be more human, a little closer to Bruce Wayne. So it would depend on what the producers were looking for.
That's true too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Nice.
So it's been rumored for a while that there's going to be a Metal Gear Solid movie. It's been up, it's been down. But do you think if Ratchet and Clank is successful and shows Hollywood how to do a video game movie, even if it's not CG, do you think Metal Gear Solid would ever become a movie, or do you think it's just a game and that's where it opens?
Yeah, well, do I think it would become a movie? Yes, it's a valuable title. It's got millions of fans all over the world. Do I think it will become a good movie?
Depends on your spot. You should write the screenplay for it.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that'd be
I
awesome.
mean, I would, and I talked to Sony about it back in the day, but they were having
Mhm.
producer conflicts and couldn't work out their deal with Kojima, and so it never happened. But I would come back and write it if they asked me to do so. I know the world very well, and I understand the difference between video game storytelling and movie storytelling, and I also know the difference between Japanese storytelling and American storytelling.
Americans, yeah.
That's very true.
So no, I think I would be very good for it, but so far they haven't come to me. So it's the first I've heard any connection to Ratchet and Clank. I don't know how that's gonna.
Well, no, I was just more or less thinking because it might be the first successful movie, or one of the first successful
Video game
games adaptations.
Yeah, I mean, if it makes money, then that will incentivize people to take Metal Gear more seriously as a film franchise. But I mean, film. But Metal Gear is a lot more suited to film to begin with.
Yeah,
it's almost like a movie already.
Yes.
So yeah, I think it if it's done right, it could make the transition to be a very good movie. But you never know.
Absolutely.
Fingers crossed.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely. That's for sure.
Yeah, it would be nice to see a good Metal Gear.
I'd be all about it. So, we know, obviously we know you've done screenplay for X-Men, X-Men 2, The Watchmen. What would be your dream comic book movie to go ahead and screenplay and write?
I always wanted to work on Sandman.
Okay.
That's a good one.
With Neil Gaiman. It's his masterpiece and one of his masterpieces, and so I always loved that. I begged them to let me do a Daredevil TV show, pretty much exactly the way they're doing it now.
Wow, unbelievable.
Yeah, back when Fox still had it, and they were going to do another movie to hold on to the rights, and I wrote to Peter Chernin's company and said, look, please just let me do this as a great cable TV show. But they didn't. And then eventually Marvel got it back and they did that. So that was good.
That's excellent foresight.
Yeah.
Wow. On your part.
It's just, I'm lucky enough to be able to get offered some of the best comic book writing that's out there. And so, the Frank Miller Daredevil has really changed my life, and Sandman is amazing. I've always wanted to do Lone Wolf and Cub, if you know that.
Okay.
Manga. So those are probably my favorites.
Excellent. So speaking of X-Men, talking about that a little bit, what are your thoughts on the X-Men franchise now and where it's gone since you originally wrote the screenplay for X-Men 1 and X-Men 2? Like, how do you feel it's I guess evolved, and how do you feel about where it's change, and how do you feel about where it's going now?
Yeah, well, it went off the rails a little bit after we left.
Yeah, it definitely did. I agreed. I agree.
Which was a shame, but
kind of had to go back and fix things there, huh?
Yeah, well, it's hard because I'm friends with Brett Ratner as well. So
okay.
I like him, and I actually visited the X-Men 3 set, and
nice.
When they were doing the Danger Room thing, and Brett came up and he was like, "We need you on this," and I'm like, "I'll bet."
Yeah,
but he was very cool, and he's a nice guy. They just, the problem is that Fox really pushed those movies through before their scripts were ready, and
I see.
That's difficult to come back from. But I loved First Class. I think Matthew Vaughn is a brilliant director, and I just
great. Yeah.
I just absolutely love Days of Future Past. I think Brian came back and just knocked it out of the park.
And those actors
redefined the whole. Well, the cast is sick.
Oh,
I mean, it's so incredible that an X-Men movie has that many incredible stars and actors, and so yeah, I couldn't be more thrilled. I absolutely love the last movie, and I'm very excited about Apocalypse.
Have you seen the new trailer for it that just dropped today?
Yeah, just dropped today. Yeah.
No, is it great?
They tease Wolverine.
Oh yeah,
spoiler.
Yeah, spoilers.
Trailer.
Yeah, fair enough, I guess.
I read that there was some sort of Wolverine cameo, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
very exciting.
Looks great though.
It does.
But
very exciting.
Yeah. Aside from movies, though, you playing any video games right now?
Oh yeah, I actually just watched the South Park documentary 6 Days to Air, which I'd never seen before, and so I'm having a South Park resurgence. So I'm actually replaying the Stick of Truth. which I enjoy it quite a bit.
Game.
Yeah.
And
Did you leave your name as douchebag in the beginning?
I don't think you have any choice. I mean, they start calling you that. You enter your name.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, we'll call you douchebag. And,
Yeah, I noticed that too when I was playing it.
Oh no, you're always Sir Douchebag. But so I'm playing that right now. And what else have I got? I played The Division a little bit. That was
Okay.
kinda cool. And Star Wars Battlefront, but really just the ship portion, which I really like.
That's my favorite part too, the flying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
So so I've got a few going.
What did you think of The Force Awakens?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I really thought it was great. I thought it seems so simple and it seems so, so right. Like they just, we just made a Star Wars movie, but people don't really grasp how difficult and how much pressure there is on every decision. And I just think JJ did such an amazing job. He
really
rebooted,
did.
in a way that was just joyful and just felt true to the original movies. And no, I really loved it. And I love the new cast, and it was the best, Harrison Ford performance in quite some time.
Yeah. It was nice seeing him in, back in the Falcon again and everything. That was just like, man, the nostalgic feels is just like an overload right now,
And it was nice to see him smile again, You just
right?
So,
Agreed.
Definitely.
Are you looking forward to seeing anything revealed at E3 or anticipating wanting a game to be revealed at E3?
Well, I don't really keep track of what's coming. I just sort of, whatever comes out, if it looks interesting, I'll chase it down. I understand. I don't know if it's coming out for E3, but I read something about a Red Dead Redemption sequel.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of rumblings about that as well. Yeah.
The new map came out. So I would love to dive back into that world. I think that was really amazing. And apart from that, I really don't know what else is coming. I just sort of take it as it does.
Do you like with games and stuff like that? Do you actively, if it's a game that you're looking forward to, that's not maybe in like pre-production that nobody else knows is coming out yet, do you try to like get into it, or would you rather play certain games that you're more interested in than acting? Yeah.
Not really. I'm lucky enough that people come to me with things, and so, so if somebody comes to me and they say, "Oh, it's the next Resident Evil game or something," well, I know that world very well, and I'd be like, "Oh, great, cool, I'd go in Resident Evil,"
Nice. It's one of Dale's.
That is my favorite.
One of Dale's favorites.
That's my favorite series.
Yeah, it's great, and so I know what I'd be getting into, and that would be very cool. So no, so I don't know. I don't. The answer is I don't track these things down. But if something comes up and it's a title that I really like, I might be better in my audition. Somewhat.
There you go.
I want to ask one more. What is your favorite video game of all time?
Oh well, I don't know.
It's a good question.
I love Okami. Do you know Okami?
Oh, yeah,
okay, it's a Japanese title, right?
Yeah, very Japanese. It's all like cut paper
fantastic.
animation. I mean, the animation on it is spectacular. It's very, very Japanese, and
wow.
I like that. I like that a lot. But I don't know. I mean, I love. I've recently replayed Saints Row 3 and 4, which just crack me up.
Yeah, they're great.
I love those games. I don't know. I loved Assassin's Creed, the one where it was a pirate one, but it wasn't the one in the Caribbean. It was the one up
Rogue.
in Canada, up in in the north.
Assassin's Creed Rogue is one of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So I really loved that. I thought that was a beautiful game. And being from Canada, it was cool to just sort of run around the
right
1800s era north. And so yeah, but there's a bunch that I really like. I loved the last Grand Theft Auto. I thought was amazing.
Oh man,
where the one before kind of bored me.
Yeah,
Yep.
But
it's
this
like
one,
same old stuff. But this one, it just felt like
it just had a new life to it. The writing was amazing. The actors were amazing. It was.
Yeah, I agree. That was actually the first Grand Theft Auto game that I finished to completion. Yeah, so
Oh wow.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of work. It's
yeah. Oh yeah.
but no, I thought that one was amazing.
Speaking of E3 and in the future, of gaming, what are your thoughts on virtual reality, VR? It seems like that's starting to really become a thing. What are your thoughts on that in, I guess, in the gaming industry, I guess?
Yeah, well, my first VR game just came out, actually. It's called Farlands.
Okay.
I think it comes installed on the Oculus Rift.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, nice. I really did one of the very first, that's awesome. Specifically for VR games, and
phenomenal.
So they brought in an Oculus Rift and let me try it out, and it was pretty astounding. I mean, the technology is amazing. It made me a little sick to my stomach.
Okay.
Because they put me in a Paul McCartney concert, and which is fine. He's gotta love Paul.
Yeah.
But it's like you're standing on stage next to him at the piano, and he's playing, and then I turn around, and I can see the audience and security, and I can see some guy taking a picture, and it's really. And then suddenly the camera angle changes, and it's like you teleport out. Now you're flying way over the concert and looking down over it, and
oh wow,
game over.
Really, it's disorienting.
There goes my lunch.
Yeah. So the technology is very cool, but I'm still a little confused as to how people are going to move around in those worlds, and but it's like anything else. I mean, I think people are going to be stunned by it, and designers will figure out how to execute games in a way that keeps your lunch down and keeps your lunch in your time.
Yeah.
Doesn't and really makes use of the technology. So yeah. So I've got a little experience with it, but not enough to really say one way or the other how well it's going to work.
Sure. Yeah, I actually didn't know that. That's awesome.
I think
you should look up the Farlands trailer, because you can't. It's a very different. I'm doing this sort of high pitch, playing this little alien who kind of sounds like Frasier. Very, very different character for me.
Okay, cool. I'll check it out.
Sure. So the guys behind the Metal Gear Solid remake, Shadow Moses, have now been working on something they call the Fan Legacy that we heard that you were involved in. Is there anything that you can tell us about that?
Well, so they had wanted to remake the original Metal Gear Shadow Moses game with current 3D, with the Unreal Engine and with this amazing technology. And of course, Konami shut them down.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Yeah.
And they had contacted me initially. They were like, what do you think? Would you want to do this game? And I was like, I think asking me to do it it's like the Eye of Sauron, they would then, like,
what are you doing?
Yeah.
And they'll kill you for it. So I said, why don't you just do it on your own? And then they killed him anyway.
Yeah.
And they came back and said, look, we've already built, a number of the spaces, so we want to put it out as sort of like a museum as a tribute to the game, and we won't be making any money off of it, so Konami can't stop us.
Sure.
Would you be willing to be sort of like a museum tour guide? And so I said, sure.
That's fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. The work is really spectacular.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking that out once that's released.
Yeah.
Cool. Any fan of Metal Gear should check that out.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go back to Star Wars for a second. Your work with Star Wars the Old Republic. How long did that take, and how did it compare to any other work you did in the past?
Probably about a year ago, I said to we keep doing updated story, new planets, new stories, things like that. They keep bringing me back in, which is great. But I said, how long have we been doing it? It feels like we've been doing this like 2 years. And they said, it's been 7 years. And
wow.
I have no sense of time. And so now I've been doing it for, I guess, probably 8 years or so. And it's really fun. And it's very cool to be a part of Star Wars, because I've always been such a huge fan. But
Absolutely.
But it's very, like, when I do Snake, I sit in a room for months and months, and they just bring in all these amazing actors, and they come in and they do their parts with me, and it's great. And it's like doing radio plays. It's really fun. With Star Wars, it's just okay, we're going to do 1,000 lines today that are completely
Oh my god.
unconnected, like just random lines that the computer will then put together into scenes. So I have to like kind of try to figure out what came before my line, what's coming after my line, what my scene partner's intent might be, but I have to just imagine all this stuff, make it up, and then just do it. So it can be a little grueling. It's not quite the same as being in the middle of a scene and acting it out. It's okay, what's this line? What's this line? And it's always about power converters or the plans for the Death Star or whatever. It's just like weird random technical stuff that connects to nothing. So it's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with you directing,
May as well.
I doubt they will.
yeah, I don't think.
No, it's been going well. It's really fun. I've gotten very close with this guy.
If EA knows what's good for them.
yeah.
So with you directing Wolves, you've completed the trifecta of acting, screenwriting, and directing. Whether
I could die now.
Yeah. How's the preparation different for each thing?
Well, they all take preparation.
Yeah.
Voice acting is the easiest. You just breeze in, you got your script, and you go, okay, what are we doing? And off you go. Writing is more work and takes a lot of meetings and outlining and stuff, even just to get the job. So there's a lot to it. But directing is a monster. I mean, it's just months and months of prep, and then we did 2 meetings that were 8 hours long, where we were just it's all the heads of the departments, and we're going through the script word for word, beat for beat, and everybody asking me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the prop guys are like, okay, so here it says he's got a cane. What kind of cane is it? Does it have a head on it? Do you want it to look like anything? Is it, the production designer is saying, okay, and does that mean he's got a cane stand? And then the AD is like, okay, so when he's coming in, is he going to put the cane down on the cane stand or what? Every single thing leads to 100 different questions. And just one of those 8-hour meetings is blindingly boring. I mean, it's the thing about my other careers as a voice actor, as a screenwriter, is they're almost all fun. I mean, there's always work and there's always pressure, but they're just, I get to make up stories and I get to do voices, and it's just, and as an on-camera guy, sometimes I get to kiss girls. It's fantastic.
Oh, there you go.
But directing is work. I mean, it's a job, and it's very often 14 or 16-hour days, and
wow.
But at the same time, it's awesome. I mean, it's if you got to work for a living, that's probably the greatest job in the world. In fact, Bryan Singer used to tell me, he'd be like, David, rock stars want my job. And I was like, that's a pretty cool job.
Yeah,
so,
I would say.
So it's great,
wow.
but it's like, it's as taxing a job as you'll ever encounter. It's very, very, very intense creatively and intellectually and physically.
I'm horrible at leading people, so I would be horrible at it.
Yeah, you got to be able to. You got to lead people. You got to inspire people. You got to. Sometimes you got to yell at people. There were some firemen on the set of Wolves, and we were blowing up the barn for the end. Spoiler alert: the barn blew up. And we were actually blowing it up. I mean, we had primer cord and we were actually blowing this ancient barn. It had been built in the 1800s. No, we really did it. And so the firemen were on hand, and this one guy, like the head fireman, was taking pictures with his phone, and the actors were around in their makeups and everything, and I walked up to him and I was like, I'm sorry, you have to give me your phone. And he was like, what? I'm like, you have to give me your phone. I saw you taking pictures and I got to erase them myself. And he was like, well, that guy told me I could, and he pointed to like the AD or something. And I'm like, well, I'm the director, and give me your phone.
Yeah.
And so
wow.
he'd never, he's a fireman. He's never been spoken to that way in his life. but you've got to keep control of your set.
Yeah,
So,
that's for sure. Oh my gosh.
It's it's a lot of pressure, but it's a lot of fun. It's it's like being God.
Yeah, right. Especially for like a big movie,
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
with a lot of production,
Well, at one point, so just briefly, we were going to see the X Mansion sets in the first X-Men, and we were up in Toronto, and the soundstage was on the waterfront. So we go out, so people are showing us everything. We go out, and out front is the waterfront with all these big ships, and there was this massive oil tanker out there, and the woman that was showing us around said to Bryan Singer, "Oh, we can move that if you want." And I was like, "Brian, you have to make them move that shit. Just have them move it out and spin it around and then put it back." But so it's pretty amazing the things that you get to do as a director.
That's awesome.
And prepping for Wolves, we were going to shoot it in Australia at one point. So the Australian government flew me down and to Sydney. I scouted Sydney for a week and Melbourne for a week. And I would land, and they'd give me a helicopter, and we'd just fly out of the city to various places around the countryside, looking at locations. And then we'd hop in our helicopter and fly out again, and it was awesome. Ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Out of the three, what do you actually enjoy doing the most?
I don't know. I mean, I love them all. Like I say, the acting is just the most pure fun. But I wouldn't want that I wouldn't want to rely on that for my life, because it's an up and down business. I love the writing. I mean, I guess the directing was my favorite. It's sort of, directing uses every skill that you've got. You have to know about music, you have to know about color, you have to know about film lenses, you have to know how to talk to actors, which is its own psychological nightmare. It really pushes you to your limits on every level. So I think in the long run, that's my favorite of all the things that I get to do.
That's awesome.
For anybody wanting to be like an actor, writer, director, do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, get out.
Whoa.
All right.
Talking to you, kid. No, that's always my advice for young actors. I'm like, get out. Just or young writers. Like, I don't need the competition. Just
yeah.
I have a mortgage.
Yeah, right.
No. No. My advice is it's so hard because my life is so good, and you can enter into this business and you can do amazing things, or you can die lonely and alone and broke. It really, and it's more likely that that'll happen. So I'm always very careful about urging people to get into the business. My advice is, if you could do anything else and be happy, then you should do that. But if you can't do anything else and be happy, then pursue it and just keep hammering away at it, and try to be honest with yourself about what your qualities are and what your weaknesses are. Because people come out, like I came out wanting to be Tom Cruise. When I was 20, I was like, I'm going to go out and be Tom Cruise. And it's like, I was a good-looking guy, but I wasn't as good-looking as Tom Cruise. And I was an okay actor, but I wasn't as good an actor as Tom Cruise. And at a certain point, you have to be very clear with yourself what you have to sell, and I had my brain, and I had my voice, and I had my personality, and those things sort of dovetailed into the careers that I've built. Some people come up to me and they're like, I want to be an actor, but they can barely make eye contact with you or whatever. I'm like, that's going to be difficult.
Yeah, it can't be starstruck 24/7, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can. I mean, if you're too starstruck to talk to me, what are you going to do when you have to audition for Steven Spielberg or something? You're going to fall apart, and so it takes a certain set of skills, basically. And you can, it's possible for anyone to make it, but it's difficult. So my advice is Do it if you have to, and if you have to, then don't let anybody stop you.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously you've been really successful. Do you have any like regrets or anything you would change that you would have done differently?
I took a lot of advice from acting teachers that I think messed me up in ways. Very often acting teachers will tell you, do nothing. Just do nothing. Just be in the moment. And it's like, so I'd be like, and
I'm just being.
I'd be like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm doing
I'm
nothing.
in the moment.
And they're like, we have to do something. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what you're talking about. And I wish I had, like, I understand acting in a way now that I didn't when I was younger. I understand how to be interesting and how to make it look like you're not doing anything. But you still have to be interesting. You still have to, you look at Ian McKellen, who's one of the greatest actors on the planet, and
Sure.
It looks so effortless, but at the same time, every line is intriguing. Every line has mystery to it, has allure to it, and there's ways to accomplish that. So I wish I'd known those things better when I was younger.
We actually have a question from one of our viewers who is watching right now. Word789. He's wondering, or she's wondering.
Word.
What's that?
Word.
Word.
That's right. They were wondering if you liked writing The Watchmen. It's one of their favorite superhero movies. They actually like the movie better than they like the graphic novel, apparently.
Wow, well, that's just crazy. But yeah, I had a great time writing. I did it for a long time. I was on that movie for 9 years trying to get it made, and traveled around the world. I was in England for a long time with Paul Greengrass when he was attached, and it was amazing. Yeah, I was honored to have that piece of material. The book is so amazing, and so it was quite an honor to be responsible to try to turn it into a film, and I had a great time doing it.
Nice. Check and see if we had any other questions there. I think that was pretty much the only one we had there. Yeah. But when you're all said and done with your career, years and years, down the road.
Hopefully.
Yeah. How would you?
Don't retire.
Yeah. Keep it going. How would you like to be remembered?
Oh, I don't care.
I really care a little bit, right?
His imprints are
really. I don't want everybody to think I was some kind of jerk or anything, but I never, people are like, if you're a writer, you live forever through your work, and I'm like, no, you don't. You die, and in 100 years, nobody will remember your movies. Maybe this is too depressing an answer. I would like people to have been made happy by the things that I did. I'd like people to be inspired. I try to play characters, and I try to write things that sort of give a positive outlook on life, and give people a way to deal with horrific problems in a sort of a heroic fashion. So, if I can inspire some people along the way, along those lines, I'd be very happy. I'd like people in the business to remember me as being professional and smart and committed. But in the end, as long as I get to keep working and my family's happy and healthy, that's really all I focus on.
Yeah, that's cool. That's the ultimate goal there,
yeah,
right?
Everyone's cool, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, because if your goal is I want everybody in the world to love me, well, you're going to run smack dab into the face of the internet, for example.
Oh, yeah.
It's a cruel place.
It is.
Yeah, because
everybody's big and tough on the internet until, when they're behind a screen, it's like, oh, I'll say anything. And then after that, it's
the stuff people say to me, and I'm like, you would never say that to my face.
Exactly. Yep.
But yeah, if that's your focus, then you're always going to be disappointed. And so I don't, I feel like do your best, do the best work you can, be the best person you can, and that will reflect well on you on the outside world. And if people don't appreciate you for it, fuck them.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. Agreed.
That's right.
Couldn't have said it any better.
Yeah.
Awesome. That pretty much wraps up everything that we had here for you. David, we appreciate you so much for stopping by and
Thank
being
you
a
for
guest on
having
our show. Yeah, it's been phenomenal.
Made my year.
Yeah, so hopefully sometime down the road we can we have you on again sometime.
That sounds great.
Awesome.
Sounds great.
Awesome. No doubt.
All right, guys. Well, and thank you to your listeners, your followers, your watchers.
Definitely. Thanks, guys, so much for tuning in.
Yes.
And that pretty much wraps up episode number 9. There goes David Hayter, episode number 9 of GamesCenter. So, thanks so much, everyone, for stopping by and tuning in. And we'll see you again next week. Of course, if you want to, you definitely want to make sure you're following David Hayter on Twitter.
Oh, definitely.
You want to hit him up at David B. Hayter on Twitter. You can follow him on there. Also, yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I follow you on there, and I see quite a few hilarious tweets there. So
okay.
Yeah, it's definitely awesome for sure. So also obviously be sure to follow him on there. You can be sure to make sure you're following Mammoth Gamers at Mammoth Gamers. Additionally, the Weekly Wrap Up YouTube channel at the Weekly Wrap Up. I'm on Twitter as well at Albert Perkins. Mark, your Twitter handle is at Lost Heroes 13, I do believe.
Yep, everything is Lost Heroes 13.
Nice.
PSN, Xbox Live, all of it.
Fantastic.
I'm on at the Dale Crow.
There you go.
There
you go. So be sure to hit us up. So that pretty much wraps it up, guys. Good stuff. Right. Thanks again, David. Appreciate it so much. All right, guys.
Thank you for having me.
No doubt. We'll see you guys next week.